So standing meditation. So stop activity, return to stillness. And that stillness becomes even more active. So, so the idea is that we just stand and let gravity work on us. Let gravity quieten the mind. Now that only really happens if you can give gravity your sacrum and your coccyx and let them pull down. Yeah, so when we're active, the spine takes up its normal curves. So the lumbar curve here, the thoracic curve opposite the heart, and the cervical curve here. So my spine is normally shaped like this: lumbar curve, thoracic curve, cervical curve. So when you're active, those curves get stronger. Yeah, so it's just the spine's way of just bringing the energy from the ground and just using it to do things. Yeah. So returning to stillness requires those curves in the spine to sort of flatten out a little bit. And that starts with the heavy coccyx, so this hanging down. So if you can flatten out the lumbar spine a little bit, then you can demonstrate it on a skeleton. When I had Alexander technique in the 1984, he illustrated on a plastic skeleton that he had how when you adjust the lower spine, the curve in the neck also straightens out. And similarly, because they work from the head in Alexander technique, so when they stretch the neck and pull the chin in, then this part of the spine naturally drops and flattens. So we start in Tai Chi from the bottom, so from the coccyx. So we're just trying to just let that drop down. So it's a good idea just to get into the habit of using your hand to sort of help flatten it out. Because what you'll find is any activity, even mental activity, even starting to think to yourself, will just accentuate the lumbar curve and your tail will stick out a little bit. So we just want to flatten that out and just feel that as you drop here, as you let your sacrum and your coccyx drop down by lengthening, it naturally draws in your mind, your thinking mind. So when we quieten down by working on our posture, then what starts to reveal itself is energy. Yeah, so this amazing concept that John introduced us to in the first class, energy. So this idea that there's some part of you that's not really under the control of your mind, and that your mind tends to obliterate. And if you can just quieten the mind and just relax, then the energy will expose itself and you'll live in a far richer world. So it's akin to the imagination that artists deal with. Yeah, so the first stage is just standing and just beginning to appreciate just how pervasive the mind is, and that as soon as I start thinking, this will bunch up and I'll need to just run my hand down my back to help the coccyx drop down again. Now just feel the arms. So the arm, it's as though the arms stem from the back of your heart and embrace something. So what that does, it means the chest recedes a little. Now, if we do it too much, then your bum will go out and the neck will crunch up. So there's always an optimum. So what we want to feel is that this point and this point have arms of their own. So this is like, this shows us how the other one should feel. So the Dan Chen, which is normally protruding because the lower back is tightening all the time in order to create the energy of activity. So we're just trying to get the Dan Chen just to recede back a little bit, for this area to flatten out. And it feels like you have two arms that come out of your sacroiliacs and around like this. Yeah? And the same with this point here. This point is normally very active because I'm thinking to myself, so it's sending energy out all the time. So we're just, by adjusting the posture, just trying to get this to come in and quieten down. And then it feels like you have two arms that come out of the back of the occiput, either side of the back where the spine comes into the skull. So John called this the cowl, which is the hood of the monk. Yeah. So when you quieten this down, it feels like you've pulled up a hood, a big long hood that just creates like a black hole here. People can't see your face. Yeah. So just feel this. So the sacroiliacs relax and just allow these two wings or arms of energy to come around. And then the same thing here. So you have 3 points, 3 Dan Chens, and they all have the same structure. Now this one here, just feel that point on the back, the Ming Men. It's so important. So you want the feeling that the Dan Chen is just receding backwards and the Min Meng is coming out a little bit. So you can think of that energy issuing from the Min Meng, the energy of the arms. So if you're working on quietening your mind, then in a sense, it's much better to have the mind in the Ming Men rather than the Dan Chen. There's not a big difference, but it's that sense that you're trying to focus on what's behind you rather than what's in front of you. So just all the time, just, we need all the help we can get. Yeah, so we're coming inside, we're retreating, we're withdrawing here, here, and here, so that we can enter the room energetically from the back, from the spine. Okay, now let's just work the Dan Chen a bit. So just pulling it in and then relaxing, but just be really gentle. So think in terms of pulling the Dan Chen back into the Min Meng and then just release it forwards a little bit. So drawing in. Feel this is, everything's retreating inside and your back is really flaring. And then here you come back to some sort of middle ground. So pulling in. So this is breathing out. And then this is breathing in. So the breathing happens naturally. So in a sense, what they mean by that is that it happens from this action rather than from your diaphragm. So here, this squeezing the belly pushes the air out of the lungs. And then relaxing the belly out again just draws air naturally in. Okay, now let's just try and get like a circuit of energy. So bringing energy into the dantian, squeezing it back into the min meng, and then letting it come out of the min meng and back around to the front. So it's the same exercise, just different visualizations. So here you're emitting energy from your back, bringing it round to the front on this phase, and then bringing it back in. Back up again. And again, just feel this heavy. So it should feel like your lower back has flattened out a little bit, like the min meng is drifting backwards. Okay, now just bring the hand down, put the hand on your sacrum. Yeah, so we just want to feel that bone and feel it splitting the weight of the body into the two legs. Okay, so now let's just try this one where we accentuate that. So bringing the energy down the spine and then just let it branch. So feel it branching into the two legs. Yeah, and just let one side go before the other. So this one's leading. So I go down this leg and then this one catches up and takes it down this leg. So it's actually more effective if you split them up a little bit. And just feel that as you get more into it, as you get more active, as you start feeling more, it brings you into activity and the tail will tend to stick out a bit. So that's when you just need to bring this back. Yes, it's always a fine line. I mean, we want to be active, but we want the activity to come from the right place, not to come from an over-enthusiastic ego, but to almost impose itself against our wishes. So the activity appears despite us rather than because of us. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, so this is one of the most difficult things and the most mysterious is how the one becomes two. So as I come down, in order to branch out, something in me has to let go to allow this one energy to split into two. So there's some release inside the heart that just allows this to happen. Ooh. Okay, let's keep it going and just let the weight, so split them up a bit more. So as this one comes down, just let it take you into this leg and then let this one take you back into this leg. Yeah, so we're trying to get the weight moving, but because the energy, yeah, so as I come down here and the energy splits this way, it takes my body across. Yeah. So the movement is sort of natural movement. It's coming because my body's following the energy rather than the other way around. So I'm sinking, and then there's a point where it has to split across into the leg. And I just want to almost just flow with it, just go with it. So you can sort of split the two hands up until you feel it. But then you just want to sort of have them, they're trying to stay together, but when they split, they have to sort of separate because your body wants to move one way and then the other. So, whoa, whoa. Yeah, so this movement into this leg should feel really natural. And it also turns you, you see, like this. And so that should feel natural as well, like it's had to happen. And then this is the difficult one, really, because that has to bring you out of this leg and then into this leg. So it's an activity that is coming from a relaxing rather than from a tensing. So as the energy drops, all this area starts to relax so that the energy can flow across the sacrum into the leg. And that will get me to move with it. Wow. Okay, now let's just get the energy circuiting. Bring it into here, into the third eye, down through the body, and then it branches from the spine into each sacroiliac, basically, to come out of your back. So in here, you can bring it in here or here, doesn't really matter. Just you get more spine if you take it top. Ooh. Yeah, just want that feeling as though something is flowing inside your body. It's quite a different feeling than when you're just getting a wash down the front. Something has come in and then it can go down the spine and then it really just branches out here. So in the forehead, down the body, through the heart center, down to the dantian, then back, branches out backwards through the sacroiliacs and out. So it's the one becoming two. It's the same when you're doing seated meditation. It's just not quite so obvious because when you're sitting on the cushion, then you've got your two sitting bones, yeah? And they're effectively your legs. Yeah, so it's still one becoming two. It's just that it's not quite clear. So John always used to say, you know, when you're meditating, sitting down, you should always have the weight mainly on one side, never equally distributed. So it's just a version of single weighted, if you like. And it's shifting all the time. So it's going from one to the other. We want this real sense that the energy has to break up and split before it can get into the ground. And just the psychology of that. What sort of mind do I need that allows my body to split into two? Okay, so out again. And now just feel the two legs. They should have a degree of sort of independence now, because we've been sort of splitting them up. Yeah, so stop activity, return to stillness, and that stillness becomes even more active. So when you quieten down inside, when you stop doing things, then the energy exposes itself and starts doing things for you. This is the idea, but it takes time. So here we just need to relax. We need to quieten down, but also relax into two. Yeah, so we're not quietening into this sort of solid, barricaded space. We're relaxing into this fluid, dynamic sort of system of yin and yang flowing in and out of each other all the time. Okay, and now let's just, so first just make sure this is flat, yeah? And now what we want to do is just, so we've been getting the energy to come down and then split across here into the two legs. So that has brought us to a certain natural stillness, a dynamic dual stillness, if you like, the stillness of two things operating together in union, in equilibrium. So we've been slipping down this leg and then slipping down this leg. Okay, now what we want to do is just feel the feet, feel your feet on the ground, and just feel them sort of, they're playing with each other, but not so much by pushing like this, which would be, in a sense, you sort of fighting gravity. That would be coming from your ego. But more, they're pulling. So this leg it just loves the ground so much, this foot, it just wants to draw the ground up into it. And then this one wants a little bit as well. So there's like a dialogue going on between the action of the feet. So the feet are just pulling you one way and then the other, and you just have to try and, if you find the tail going back, it just means the activity is coming from the wrong place. But it has to come from somewhere to start with. So we're just, you know, we just feel this, yeah? So remember, when I put the weight in this leg becomes empty. And so that's where the energy goes. That's where the energy exposes itself. And so as I fill this leg, the energy is in this foot. And so I can use that to just help pull myself across. And then as this one starts filling, the energy will appear here. Yeah. So it's like I'm trying to catch something and it's always running away to the other side. So here I see the energies here, I feel the energy there. So I get drawn towards it because it's just so attractive. And then it disappears and comes here. Yeah. So we just want some sort of activity down here that is happening naturally, relaxedly, that won't make this tighten my lower back and make my bum stick out. Yeah, so it's all assisting in the relaxation of the Min Meng and the Dantian. Yeah, so I just draw across here, and this becomes relaxed and active, and then I just draw across here. Yeah. Yeah, so if you allow this sacroiliac to tense up, then the energy won't appear here. So it all relies on the relaxation. And of course, for this to be relaxed, your legs have to be really quite strong in a sort of relaxed way. So the energy is appearing here, I can feel it. Ooh. And then here. So it should feel very delicate. So if I can just sink and relax here, then this will naturally pull me back. And if you can't feel it, then you just imagine it. Imagination becomes reality. It has to start somewhere. Whoa. So as the weight settles into this leg, something appears here. And then the quality of what you're doing is just a matter of purity in a way. Is it really coming from the energy? Is it really coming from the relaxation? Or is it just coming from your enthusiasm? Yeah. So that's just a matter of maturity and just familiarity. So you just need that. That's what comes with practice. It refines. So again, we're just looking at the return really. So when I can really relax outwards, what happens is you relax out into this sort of claw structure, which naturally brings you back. So as I relax here, there's a natural return because of the structure of the body. So the body is like a finite instrument. So whatever goes out must come in, whatever goes up must come down. So something is branching out here with the energy from relaxing here, and that just draws me back. So you can see if my stance was too wide, it wouldn't happen. And if it's too narrow, then there's nothing really encouraging this to split. Your feet need to be wider than you are, wider than your shoulders, but not too wide. Yeah, just all the time, just bringing this back. Whoa, Jesus. And so it's like, whichever level of the mind you're operating from, there's always a deeper one that we'd like to get to. So here I've settled here. So now I just relax across here, and then something just goes down and catches the ground. Ooh. Yeah, so you just have to be careful not to let it become what they call a duality. So what they mean by that is that when it sort of splits into two and you choose one over the other. So what we're after, I mean, everything is a duality, but what we're trying to do is keep it in equilibrium. And that equilibrium is a union. So I'm with the union, I'm with the equilibrium. If I settle too heavily here and forget this one, it's not going to pull back. So this idea of the eternal oneness, I mean, that's just a total artificial, man-made construct. There's nothing natural in it. But this union of a duality is totally natural. It's yin-yang. So, okay, so let's just come back to riding horse. It's funny how the feet always drift out. And again, just relaxing down here. Just feel the weight down and just branching across. So we're just trying to keep those joints released, like the sacroiliacs and the hips, so that this can really sort of move around. So the stillness of my body is a product of my quiet mind. It's not an artificial clamping stillness, a frozen stillness that my mind has produced. I've just quietened down inside, and then this posture is really poised and delicate and energetic, in theory. Okay, so now let's just try relaxing it a bit. Okay, so let's just try this. So knocking the gate of life. So loose fists, and it's the one behind that's important. It's the min meng. So we're just turning and just tapping the back and the front, but it's the one at the back that's important. Each time you tap it, just feel it it's wanting to sort of relax and open up the min meng. If you hit it too hard, it'll shrink into itself. We're just trying to encourage it to just become a little bit active and open out. So it's a great exercise, this. So effectively, your hands are effectively just taking energy from the min meng and bringing it round to the dan chen. So John always used to say, if there's only one exercise you have time for, let it be this one. So what's useful about it is you can feel that as soon as you become active, you can feel the Min Meng moving in. You can feel that sort of tightness in the lower back as the hand hits it. So we're just relaxing into that point. Let's just get this down a bit. Yeah, so just feel the two legs sort of coming out of the ground and clasping the sacrum. So the hip bones, you know, the bones that your thighs come into are like two hands on the top of the leg. So they're part of the leg. And this sacrum here is just being held very delicately in the middle. So you want this absolute sense that the legs are branching out from the side and then going down. They're not coming up underneath you. Okay, so let's just go back to here. So let's just try the one hand. So just turning, and just as you bring the hand onto the Min Meng, that's when you sort of make a slight fist. Yeah. And then when you turn here, it's like you're bringing that energy round and bringing it into the Dantian. Yeah. And then this one does the same thing. Yeah. So you're just so basically, you know, when we're standing and riding horse, we're teaching the body how to structure itself. And so this feeling here of the arms coming out of the back and around. Yeah, so again, we've got this feeling that we have arms here that are just channeling, just coming around, and they can just come back in. It's a figure of eight. Yeah, it's just a figure of eight, really. That's the way we interpreted it. Yeah. And so this exercise here, I'm just taking the energy out here and bringing it in the front. And then with this hand out of the back, bringing it in the front. So just if you have that visualization in the mind, then it becomes more of an energy exercise and less of a physical one. And you don't need to go fast. You don't need to hit yourself hard. Yeah, so it's more like real Qigong rather than just a physical thing. Yeah, so one. So I'm taking the energy from the back and I'm bringing it round. Ooh. And again, I'm just using my arms to trace a pathway that I would like to be there even without my arms getting involved. So my arms are just making it easier for me to feel and visualize. Ooh. It's like a tentacle of energy comes out of the Min Meng, around and into here. And actually it's not really, it's coming out of the sacroiliacs. And then it comes into this point here, out of here, and into here, out of here. Yeah. Ooh. And so we just want to feel the min meng as a place of relaxation rather than tightening. So when I do something, it tends to tighten up. Largely because when we do something, we don't realize it, but it tends to come from an anxiety somewhere. So here we're just trying to look at unanxious, natural movement. Movement coming from stillness. Ooh. Okay, so now back to here. So effectively you have this like a figure of 8 that's coming around, that's wider than you are. Okay, well, let's just try a little bit for the arms. So the arms, it's pretty obvious, yeah. So here it's coming out in my back, so through the chest, out of the back and around into the chest, and then this hand takes it. Yeah, so it's just this exercise. So it's a figure of 8 through the heart. So the middle of the figure of 8 is the heart. And each loop of the figure of 8 is a bit wider than I am. And again, I want to relax around this circuit. I don't want to tense around it. So something in me is releasing. Now just be careful here. Now let's just go down to here again, so round. So working on the chest and the arms will always tend to tense it up down here. So if we were properly strong and properly rooted, then this would be our foundation. This would be the strongest. Wow. Okay, now let's try a little bit with this one. So this is the one where we have to really sort of use a bit of imagination. So again, just using the hands to help. So it's like you just send the energy from the front here to the back of the head here, you know, where the spine comes up and goes in. So we just bring the energy through and then bring it out of here and just bring it back and then back through here. Yeah, so it's exactly the same thing. It's just a much smaller one, obviously. And we're just not used to working here in this way. We're used to using this, of course, a lot. We're just getting energy circuiting in the head. We're just not used to it, so it's a bit odd. So here, through, back, out of here. So these are very natural exit points, and we want to feel that. Same as this is a natural entry point, if you can just quieten the mind a bit. So forward, back. Yeah, just feel that the higher up you work, the more the lower ones tend to corrupt. So we're having to just keep that lower one, especially, relaxing. So forward. So. Okay, and then back to here. Yeah, it's like everything is a stress. So everything tends to tense you up, including relaxation. It's like time has its own anxiety. You know? Just slipping from this moment to the next tenses the body, especially when you're standing like this. So the min neng. Yeah, so the lower back should feel pretty flat now. It sort of gradually sort of flattens and flattens. And it starts curving up again. That's when it's time to stop, really, because you're just getting overtired. Okay, so now let's just stand in attention posture. So again, this posture, we want it to feel a bit like the riding horse. So the fact that the feet are together, we don't want that to give us the impression that our legs are underneath us. We still want this feeling that they're out like this. It's just that they're just closer together at the bottom. Yeah. So let's just go up and down a bit, and just bending the legs just a little bit, the knees going out, just feeling this curved shape in the legs. Yes, it's like a ballet exercise, but just really let the coccyx drop. Yeah. So if you just go down carelessly, then your bum will stick out. So just let the tail take you down. So my heavy tail forces the legs to bend and accept me. And then I just let the legs push back, trying my best not to let my bum flick out. Yeah, so as you bend the legs and just keep the tail in, that's when you can really feel all the activity here just drawing in. Yeah, so this is when the mind really quietens, and then it'll tend to get a bit active here as the energy comes up. It's natural. So here, just bending. Yeah, so it's coming from the heavy coccyx. So if you just practice that, long enough, then eventually you get to that point of the stillness becoming even more active. And then it's the legs, it's the feet. The feet pull you down. So rather than it coming from the heavy coccyx, my feet are actually pulling. And so it sort of drifts into the realms of spirit when you can quieten the mind. So what we're trying to do really is just replace the ego with spirit, so that what we do is generated by acts of spirit rather than acts of self. Yeah? But you have to go through that process of really quietening down first before the spirit will expose itself, and then you can work with it. But it's so delicate. If you overdo it, then it's your ego taking control, and the spirit will just leave. The spirit will get disheartened and will just go somewhere else. So, whoa. So it's just those moments of spirit. They're everywhere, and we pass them by because we don't think they're exciting enough. We don't think they're worthy of our attention. I remember John once saying to me, he says, I only need to push hands with one soft person a week, and it keeps me going for the rest of the week. Yeah. So just that inspiration that you get from a moment of pure soft spirit just keeps you going. Yeah, just keeps up your faith, if you like. It's like hope. Yeah, so it's. Ooh. So this is what our class is really. A class is just a space where you can relax and quieten down and allow spirit to rise. And it will always rise differently each time. This is why you can't make it rise, because if you do, you're making yesterday's spirit rise and it's already gone. So you have to find, you just have to be faithful and just let it come up. Wow. And then if we want to step in Tai Chi, so basically we're going down the middle, yeah? If we want to step, we just let one leg, I let this leg be the one that pulls me down. And then this one just pops out, yeah? So this is basically the stepping, what we're doing now. It seems like we're going down the middle and going 50-50. But something in me just slips one side a little bit more. Oh, and then this foot can step out, and then I can just go into riding horse. And it's up to you. It's up to you which one you go into. Yeah? So I can just feel this active and step with this one. Yeah? Or I can just feel this one active. Yeah. So wow. So what I haven't done is move over the leg and then sink down to bring this foot up. Yeah, because that will tend to tighten up here because you're compressing it. So we want that feeling that the tail is dropping down. And this leg here has sort of just come up and is attached on the side here. And this just pops out. Yeah. So I'd only really be able to sort of hold the leg up for any length of time if I leaned over like this. Yeah. So the stepping in Tai Chi is to start with, you know, we sort of hold the leg up in the air forever. And that's largely just to strengthen the legs. Yeah, but eventually they just sort of pop out the feet. So here, up. Yeah. And then I can just move across. And then the joints just stay relaxed then. And we just have to be really careful we don't become statues. Ooh. It's lovely doing a form like this. You just see where the foot goes and just that's where it goes. You know, and sort of as I sink into this leg, where does this foot want to end up? Yeah. So it's, you know, you're just trying to sort of just eschew the stress that's normally associated with recreating a form and just get it to come from just bursts of spirit, bursts of this delicate spirit that's just reaching out in order to touch. Yeah? It's like this, like the child tentatively reaching forwards in order. I remember when I was a kid, you know, the teacher, this is when we lived in Brighton, so this would have been 1966. And the teacher brought in a guitar, and I just wanted to just strum those strings so much. Yeah? And she let me come up and just do this, and I can remember the feeling on my thumb to this day. Yeah. It's like magic. Somehow you just brush these strings and sound comes out. You make something from nothing. Yeah. So there's the feeling here, you're reaching into the unknown with that foot, and it just enables you to just do something, to create something. Okay, so now let's just do this a few times just to bring it back. So just into one of these points, both of them if you want, and then just it sort of splits out here just a little bit. So you've got the same visualization, it's just minimal action. Okay, now let's just pause here, say a prayer. And then just down, just check the lower back. Can I release it a little bit more? And you always can. And just remember, if you're having problems in the lower back, it's probably because you're sticking your chin out too much. So this one needs to straighten as well as this one. Yeah. So it's not always where you think it is. Okay, very good.